Jennifer, could you please bring the agenda on?
Okay, I thought I had it up already. It said I was sharing, but I am trying to share it yet again.
Jennifer, could you save the file that you want to show to your desktop and then share it rather than coming from the network?
Yes, let me try that. Can you see it now?
Perfect timing.
This is Jose speaking. Jose's on the line.
Thank you, Jose.
Thanks, Jose. I think we're getting ready to start.
All right, so we are going to start the meeting, if everybody is ready. And I want to say good afternoon and welcome to the Merced Irrigation-Urban Groundwater Sustainability Agency, MIUGUSA, Governing Board meeting and public hearing for today. And before we start the meeting, I would like to pass it to Jennifer McMaster to go over our COVID-19 procedures. Unfortunately, with our best effort and hope that we would have at least a partial live meeting, that was not possible today. So with this, I'll pass it to Jennifer.
Thank you, Hisham. Good evening, members of the board and members of the public. Welcome to the Merced Irrigation-Urban Groundwater Sustainability Agency Governing Board meeting and public hearing. Thank you all for being here today. Due to coronavirus, staff and MIUGUSA has made a number of changes to our meeting procedures in order to comply with the governor's executive orders. Most other public agencies around the state are going through the same procedural issues. The measures we have taken for our meeting are very consistent, if not identical, to what most other agencies are doing. We are learning and continue to do the best we can given the circumstances. Any members of the public who desire to call in to observe the board meeting can do so by following the guidance that staff attached to the board's agenda. There is also a call-in number for any member of the public to use and call in to listen to the board meeting. Members of the public who call in should be able to hear everything that staff and the board says. However, members of the public will not be able to speak during the meeting. If a member of the public wishes to make a public comment, they should email their comment to feestudy@miugsa.org or submit their comment via one of the methods included in the guidance document attached to the agenda. For this, any public comment, written or telephonic, that we received before 1 p.m. today will be summarized or played for the board, and staff will include as part of the public comment portion of the meeting. Staff will make a reasonable effort to read comments submitted after 1 p.m. into the record as part of the discussion. However, if a comment is not read during the board's meeting, it will be made a part of the record so long as it is received prior to the conclusion of this meeting. We do have one action item on today's agenda. Because we are all on a virtual conference call meeting today, we will need to have a verbal roll call vote to take any action. Assuming we have a motion and a second on any or all of our action items today, either I or Chairman O'Tall can go through a roll call for votes. So just to wrap up, I ask that everyone be patient with the process and be patient with everyone as we work our way through the meeting. To the extent that we are all on a conference call from different locations, I ask everybody to make sure they are on mute for the entire meeting, with the exception of the board, in order to avoid interrupting the meeting. We will do our best to make sure folks are mute on this end as well. We want to make sure that only one person is talking at a time so that we can understand the conversation and we don't talk over each other. As we have done following each of our conference call meetings or virtual meetings, we will take the lessons that we learned from today and try to improve on the board's meetings moving forward until all of our restrictions are lifted. With that, I will turn the agenda back over to Chairman O'Tall to run through as we would any meeting agenda. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Jennifer. Could you please take the roll call?
Yes. Representatives for the City of Merced?
Present. Stephanie Dietz.
Thank you. City of Atwater?
Justin, if you are on mute, you will need to unmute yourself.
We'll come back. City of Livingston?
Jose Ramirez. City of Livingston.
City of Atwater? Not yet. Merced Irrigation District?
Shamatel present.
Winton Water and Sanitary District?
Carlos Valencia.
Planada Community Services District? Planada Community Services District?
Daniel?
Okay, we'll come back. The Grand Community Services District?
Cynthia Benavides here.
Thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and go back to City of Atwater. Justin, if you're on, please unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm on. My microphone wasn't working.
Okay, so you are here.
Yeah, I'm on the phone.
Perfect. And we needed to go back to, was it Planada Community Services District? Do we have a representative?
Yeah, we know Daniel is there. We have to make sure that he logs in. Okay. So Daniel, if you are on mute, maybe you could unmute. Well, the beauty of virtual meetings. So Daniel was in when we started, so I'm sure he'll log in when he has a chance, and we'll make sure that goes into the record. So at this point, is there?
Isham?
Yeah. Oh.
Isham, there's a call-in number that you can call in on. That's what I just did.
Yeah.
Shall I scroll down to the call-in section?
No, he's already on. He just needs to unmute. So when he's able to get in,
He might not know. He might not know that you mute from the bottom on this system and not on the side the way we normally do it.
all right. Well, I'll let the staff here figure that out, then we need to get going with the meeting. So, and we will get that on record once Daniel is able to connect. So with that, I will go to thank you, Jennifer. And with this, I will go to item C on the agenda, which is written petitions and communications. If there's anyone of the board has anything he wants to share with us. Okay, hearing none, I'm going to move to board additions or deletions to the agenda. Any proposed additions or deletions? Hearing none, we get to the oral communication. If there's anything that is not related to the public hearing, and if somebody wants to send a comment, they're more than welcome. Otherwise, we are going to be listening to all the comments as we get into the public hearing. And you're welcome to send your comments at any time during this meeting. And if it is not related to the public hearing, please indicate that. All right, and the next item is the public hearing, and with this, the board will hear public comments regarding the proposed adoption and implementation of a fee. So at this point, I am opening the public hearing and to go through the process. With this, I'm going to pass it to Catherine Hansford. She worked on the water rate study that we are about to discuss today. Catherine?
Good evening. Thank you, Hisham, Chair, and all of the board. I'm going to share my screen with the presentation. So this will just take a couple of seconds to load. Okay. So thank you. This evening I'm going to be presenting the 2020 regulatory fee study. This is a project we've been working on since February. This material is being presented for the public to understand. So I want to start out with a map of the area that we are even talking about this evening. So it's important to know, looking at this map, that the area that we are talking about, that this fee is concerned with, is the area that's shown in blue. The entire area that you see is the Merced subbasin. The blue area is the Merced Irrigation-Urban GSA's management area. So that, again, that's the area that we are talking about tonight. And then you can see two other colors, the Merced Subbasin GSA and the Turner Island Water District GSA number 1. Those are two other GSAs that, together with Merced Irrigation-Urban GSA, have formed a groundwater sustainability plan for the entire basin. But we are just focusing tonight on the area in blue, which this fee pertains to. And just on the left of this slide, I have a list of various communities that this fee will apply to. So all the way up from in the north area, we have Cressy and Amsterdam, and then all the way down the south is the El Nido area. Out to the east is Planada, La Grande, and to the west is the Livingston area. And so again, this is the area we're talking about. The genesis of this fee is to pay for the regulatory activities of the Merced Irrigation-Urban GSA. And just to provide a little bit of background, this agency was formed in response to the state of California's legislation called the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. This act was signed by the governor in 2014. It has the stated purpose of halting overdraft and bringing groundwater basins into balanced levels of pumping and recharge. SIGMA allows for the local control of groundwater resources within the criteria provided for in the California Water Code. And in that, each of the GSAs has the authority to charge fees for funding of the services that they are providing. So each one of the GSAs within the Merced subbasin is determining its own funding mechanism. So Merced is short from Merced Irrigation-Urban GSA. I might say that shortened version a couple of times this evening. Has been working on this regulatory fee to fund the costs of developing and implementing a groundwater sustainability plan. That plan has been complete and it was submitted to the state in January of this year. Investigations and inspections, compliance assistance, enforcement, program administration, and a prudent reserve. And these things are all specifically stated in the California Water Code. Merced was formed in 2017, but up until 2020 had not put together an annual budget. I'm sorry if there's a little bit of a loop. I'm not sure what is generating that. But in 2020, as part of this fee study, a budget was put together. So these are the costs that have been identified for future regulatory activities. And these are the costs that would be paid for by the beneficiaries of Merced's activities. I'm just going to pause for a second and ask the board if you can all hear me okay, or if there was any feedback that you were receiving that's disturbing the sound. Mr. Chairman?
I can hear you okay.
Okay, thank you very much. I just wanted to make sure. So this table summarizes the costs that are included in the budget, and this is for fiscal year 2020-2021. So coming into this we are actually in this fiscal year now. So staffing costs are estimated at $150,000 for the year. Professional services, $205,000. Compliance and administration, about $210,000. And then I had mentioned that between 2017 and 2020, there have been some accumulated costs. And under the Memorandum of Understanding that has created this GSA, the prior year costs would be reimbursed back to those agencies that incurred the costs. So that's why you see the line item there. And then an amount for a prudent reserve. To give you some examples of the types of costs that are included in this budget, they include annual reporting to the state and 5-year interval reports to the state, enhancement of groundwater monitoring networks, development of mapping and other data tools, payments of dues and permits to the state, and other materials and supplies costs. All property owners are beneficiaries of regulatory activities in the Merced management area. Therefore, it is proposed that all of the property owners will pay a fee, including those with a domestic well. Beneficiaries are classified as either urban or agricultural production for purposes of this fee. Urban includes residential and non-residential properties. The definitions of agricultural production and urban are as follows. So for agricultural production, this is all real property that is classified by the Merced County Assessor as agriculture, dairy, grazing, poultry, and poultry/trees. For urban, that encompasses all the other properties. So all real property that is not classified as agriculture, dairy, grazing, poultry, and poultry/trees. So this pertains again to only those parcels that are within the Merced Irrigation-Urban GSA's management area, that blue area I showed you at the very beginning. So before going into the fee methodology, I wanted to make some clarifying points. These are some things that came up during the development of the fee. We just want to make sure that these are clear at the beginning. So this is a fee of the Merced Irrigation-Urban GSA. It is not a fee, and it's not an increase of a fee that is charged by a water service provider currently. So it is not a fee that is charged by any of the member agencies. For example, City of Merced, Planada Community Services District, Merced Irrigation District, they all have their own fees for service that they charge. This fee is not a part of their fees at all. It is a completely separate fee for a separate agency. The regulatory fee is not a charge for water service. It is a charge for regulatory activity to meet the requirements of SGMA only. SGMA allows GSAs to charge fees to de minimis extractors. Those are domestic well owners. They are well owners who pump less than 2 acre-feet per year. There are certain rules. Earlier this year, Merced Irrigation-Urban GSA passed Resolution 2020-01. That resolution acknowledges the regulation of de minimis extractors pursuant to California Code 1073A30A. So that allows the fee to be placed on domestic well owners, but it is important to know that GSAs do not have legal authority to require meters on de minimis wells. This regulation pertains only to payment of the fee, not to metering, not to measuring water use on de minimis users. So the fee development began in February with a review of different funding structures and fee amounts that have been adopted by other GSAs in California. We wanted to learn what successful types of fee structures had been developed and why they were a certain way. So this formed a basis of knowledge and understanding to move forward. We talked about some goals for this fee, and these included simplicity, equity, administrative ease, enforceability of the fee, and financial stability. So making sure that there would be a sufficient revenue stream that could be counted upon from year to year, that it was something that was not too burdensome or cumbersome on any of the member agencies in order to implement it, and something that the public would understand and be relatively easy to implement. The initial stakeholder interviews that were conducted, and they were conducted by telephone in March, pointed to an expectation that groundwater use would be incorporated into the fee. So that's a very important component of the fee methodology that you will see. 2 fee options were developed based on the input of board members, staff, and the initial stakeholder interviews. Both of these options account for the amount of groundwater use between the urban and the agricultural production beneficiaries. Under both of these fee options, the fees will be collected with property taxes. Under option A, there would be an agricultural fee, that would be a per acre fee, and there would be a per acre urban fee. So under the option A, all of the agricultural properties would pay the same per acre fee, and all of the urban properties would pay the same per acre fee. The agricultural acre fee and the urban acre fee would be different, but within those groups, they would pay the same fee. Under option B, the fee would be the same per agricultural acre as it would be under option A. But under this option, there is a weighted urban acre structure. This option came about because of stakeholders' comments and a desire to try as best as possible to be equitable amongst the urban types of properties and to try and take into account how much water they use. So this is a weighted fee structure, and it accounts for acreage and land use. So looking at similarities and differences between the two options, well, they both involve 3 steps. So step 1 is to allocate the costs between the urban and the agricultural production uses of groundwater. So that's the same under both options. Step 2, calculate the agricultural fee. Again, that's the same under both options. And then step 3 is to calculate the urban fee, which would be different under option A or option B. So step 1, allocate the costs between the urban and the agricultural production uses of groundwater. This was conducted based on historical pumping of groundwater. This percentage was determined using modeling results from the GSP, as well as historical state records of pumping within the area.
Catherine, could you, the GSP is the groundwater sustainability plan that the 3 GSAs, the 3 agencies in the basin worked on. That's where these numbers are coming from.
Correct, but I will just note that this percentage split is not for the whole GSP area. This percentage split is determined just for the Merced Irrigation-Urban GSA management area.
That's correct.
So the percentage split is determined at 22% urban and 78% agriculture for fiscal year 2020-21. But it's important to note that the pumping by each group could change over time. So the intent with this fee is that there would be periodic fee reviews, and these percentages may change as necessary. So, for example, it is anticipated that over time, more surface water will be used by the agricultural community. It's possible the split could shift so that a greater percentage is urban and a lower percentage agriculture. For the agricultural fee, the agricultural cost share, so the $800,000 budget, that's then multiplied by 78%. That's the agricultural cost share. And just to recap, agricultural acres are defined as agriculture, dairy, grazing, orchard, poultry. These are all land use codes that the Merced County Assessor assigns to agricultural parcels. This fee would be the same per acre regardless of the use and regardless whether the property is currently being irrigated or not. So all of the agricultural properties within the Magusa management area, they all have access to irrigation infrastructure. And there was a lot of input from the agricultural community early on that this fee should be the same for all of them. And the reasoning being that from year to year, different crops may be grown in that area. From year to year, there may be a necessary rotation where a field is fallow. And that would be not only just easiest, but fairest, considered fairest by the agricultural community.
And Catherine, I want to add that not only it doesn't matter if the parcel is irrigated or not, it doesn't matter if it has a private well or not.
Yes, correct. Thank you for that clarification. So this table illustrates what I have just described. You can see the top part of the table there is the calculation of the annual cost that is allocated to agriculture. So $624,000 is allocated to agriculture. And the total number of agricultural production acres within the management areas, just over 119,000 acres. So the cost is divided by the acreage. There is an allowance for errors. It's a small allowance, and that is because as parcels change between when this fee was being developed and when the actual tax roll was prepared, there could be some lot line adjustments, there could be consolidation of parcels, and so we just want to allow a little bit of room for errors. So the calculated cost per agricultural production acre is $5.52 per acre. Something that is important to note is that the acreage of parcels is based on mapping software. So these are called GIS acres. They may not exactly match the assessor records of the situs acreage. So I say that because if you are a grower and you receive your property tax bill and you might take the acreage of your parcel, multiply it by the fee, you may not come up with exactly the same fee as is shown on your property tax bill. And that's because the acreage is a little bit different from that's held at the Merced County Assessor's Office. It's all county data. It's just situs acreage can be a little bit different from GIS acreage. Okay. The urban fee under option 2A. Divide the allocated urban cost share by the number of urban acres. Again, urban acres are defined as all Merced County Assessor land use classifications that are not agricultural acres. And this table illustrates the steps for option 2A. The total cost is divided by the total acres, and the fee would be $6.26 per acre. Under urban fee option 2B, the total urban cost is divided by the number of weighted urban acres. And weighted urban acres are those same urban acres, but they are weighted by water use coefficients. So the more intensive water users, at least on a per acre basis, will pay a higher per acre fee under option 2B than they would under option 2A. The water use coefficients have been determined based on planning documents from agencies, cities within the management area, as well as pulling some water use records from different types of land uses. Now, this table illustrates the steps for option 2B. So in option 2B, the number of urban weighted acres is 30,399. And the cost per urban weighted acre is $6.10 per acre. So for each of the different types of land uses, that $6.10 per acre is multiplied by this water use coefficient. It's called a factor in this table. And a single family detached home is given a weighting of 1, and all the other land uses are relative to that single family home use on a per acre basis. So just for example, a mobile home on a per acre basis typically uses a little less than a single family home. Apartments use more, you have more intense land use development on an acre. And below is the non-residential factors. Religious uses, typically a little lower than single family, and the other uses a little bit higher. Open space and vacant parcels do have a fee responsibility too. All parcels are benefiting from the activities of the GSA's mandate to provide services for the sustainable long-term availability of groundwater. So some examples of the residential fees. Under option A, all of these different types of residential land uses would pay at $6.26 per acre. Under option B, that varies. So looking at a typical home in an urban area, that would be a home on a typical lot, is about 0.17 acres. You can see under option B and option A, they're very, very similar. Just to emphasize, these numbers you're seeing, these are annual costs. So just over $1 a year for the regulatory fee. Homes that are on cul-de-sacs, those lots are a little larger, so the fee is a little higher. And then homes on lots that are greater than 0.9 acres, they do use more water on a per acre basis. That's why you see that fee as being higher. So for them, the fee is higher under option B than under option A. Some examples of non-residential fees under options A and option B. So you can see for most of the non-residential, the fee is a little higher under option B than option A. Take, for example, a Save Mart in Atwater. Under option B, they would have a fee of $10 a year. Under option A, it would be $8 a year. The golf course, Rancho Del Rey golf course. Under option B, that's $953 for a year. Under option A, it's $741 per acre. So you can see that those land uses with more intensive water use on a per acre basis pay a higher fee under option B. The fee study was finalized and was presented to the board July 2nd. The fee study date is July 2nd, 2020. The recommendation in the fee study is to adopt option 2B. And the reasoning for this is that the stakeholder and public comment that was received was that the fee for urban parcels should account for water use by different users or different land use types. In addition to that, while option A does provide sufficient evidence of a reasonable relationship between the amount of the fee allocated to each payer and the benefits received, option B provides a stronger relationship because land uses that have more intensive water use per acre will pay more. This table shows the recommended fiscal year 2020-21 fee. You see at the top, agricultural fee per acre is $5.52. On the right side are all the different Merced County Assessor land use codes that this would apply to. Under urban residential and urban non-residential, these are again all fees per acre per year. And you can see the land use codes that these would apply to. So that was the development of the fee, but an extremely important component of development of this fee has been public outreach efforts. They have been very extensive. I should preface that it hasn't been exactly as you would normally see public outreach be conducted because of the COVID-19 situation. We started out in this project in February, and very shortly into it, in fact, just in March when we were just starting to get going in earnest on public outreach efforts with initial stakeholder interviews and then moving forward throughout the summer, where we had anticipated holding public workshops in person and answering people's questions. We haven't had the ability to do that in person. So I just want to review with you what efforts have been taken. We started out with the key stakeholder interviews, and by key stakeholders we mean some community leaders and sectors of commerce, so like agriculture, for example, well suppliers we also speak to. We sent out mailers to all of the property owners within Megoosa's boundaries by the end of May, explaining what this fee is, a couple of the different fee options that were being explored. And we placed ads in the Merced County Times, the Atwater Winton Times, Merced Sun Star, and Peter and Oval in early June. And the display ads were to explain what this fee is and how you could obtain more information about the fee. Public outreach materials were posted to the Megoosa website in May and June, and at that time we put out short videos that explained the fee for different land use types. So we had a video for agriculture, a video for residential, and a video for commercial customers so that they could go directly to the fee that they would be paying and understand more about the genesis of the fee and the fee amount. We put an interactive map on the website so that property owners can check if they are in the management area. And we held public workshops on June 15th and 16th. So those were virtual workshops. We had presentations, we had question and answer sessions. Those were all recorded and they were posted onto the website. At the July 2nd board meeting, the final fee study report was accepted by the board of directors. This report provides the justification for the fee, the data upon which the fee is calculated, and it demonstrates a reasonable relationship exists between the fee amount and the purpose of the fee. So importantly for this fee, this is called a Proposition 26, a regulatory fee. Fees cannot exceed the amount necessary to cover the reasonable costs of the governmental activity, and the amount allocated to each payer must bear a reasonable relationship to the payer's burdens on the benefits received. So that is the purpose of the fee study report. It demonstrates how that reasonable relationship is achieved. A public hearing notice was circulated in the Merced Sun-Star and its weeklies, as well as the Merced County Times, for 14 consecutive days before this public hearing. So no fee revisions. The board has the ability to revise this fee whenever needed. It just needs to do that by following the procedures in the California Constitution, as has been followed for this public hearing tonight. It is a recommendation in the fee study that an annual automatic fee inflator be applied each year, so meaning each fiscal year for the agency. That's July 1 through June 30th each year. And the Bureau of Labor Statistics, West Region CPI is the one that's being recommended to do that. Also included in the fee resolution is an appeals process. I'll just quickly run through that. So as with payment of most, if not all fees in California, the fee is required to be paid first. Within 30 days of making the payment, the person may file an appeal with the GSA. Within 30 days of filing the appeal, the chair of the GSA or the designee shall further the person to discuss the basis of the appeal. Within 15 days of that meeting, a determination shall be made and delivered to the person. If the person is dissatisfied with the determination, the person may file an appeal to the governing board within 15 days of receipt of the determination. And at the next available board meeting, the appeal may be granted in full, or granted in part, or denied. So that concludes presentation of development of this regulatory fee and the recommendation for the fee for this next fiscal year. The fee study consultants have included myself, Catherine Hansford, Principal of Hansford Economic Consulting, Shailene Rollins, who has conducted all of our public outreach efforts. She's with Pando Public Relations, and Christy Chang from KSN Inc., who has provided all of the mapping work. And I want to thank all of the GSA staff and all of the board members for participating and really providing a lot of input throughout this whole process to come up with a recommended fee. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine, Shailene, Christy. But just before we get to the next phase of this public hearing, I just want to make sure that Daniel Chavez is designate his presence. Daniel, can you for the Planada CSD? Yeah, he connected with us when making sure that for the record.
It looks like he may be on mute.
Okay, Daniel, could you unmute yourself? Okay, well, Daniel, you could interrupt us, I guess, from here on. If whenever you have a chance, please indicate your presence. So at this time, we are going to go to the next phase of this public hearing. And since we don't have in-person audience talking about their comments, presenting their comments, we have voice messages and we have emails and text messages. So I'm going to pass it to Matt Beeman, who's staff here, and he is going to go through through these comments.
Good evening, board and public. So to give a quick breakdown of the opportunities for comment, prior to the meeting, we made a fee study email available. That was feestudy@miugsa.org. We received 4 emails prior to the meeting, and one has come in during the meeting. We are still watching this email, and so if there are any comments that show up during this public hearing or this open period, the comments will be read. In addition, prior to the meeting, we had a voicemail set up. So this gave an opportunity for folks to call in and leave a message of up to 3 minutes long that would be played into the record. During the meeting, there are three ways that the public can participate. The first one would be if you're watching through Microsoft Teams Live, there's a comment box. If you're on YouTube Live, there's a chat box. And then finally, the fee study email is also available and being watched. And just to repeat, the email is feestudy@miugsa.org. And so with that being said, again, these are all being watched. And if you want to make a comment, it will be read into the record. There is about a 20-second lag between what the board is saying and what is being shown on Microsoft Teams Live, so we'll try to be a little bit patient and see what comes in. So I'll start by reading the comments that have come into record, and then I will switch over and play the audio recording of the voicemail that was provided. And I'm reading verbatim as received in the fee study email. This is from Cheryl Miller, formerly of 6025 Mulberry Avenue, Atwater. I used to own a home in Atwater, McSwain area, and my water supply for my home in 1 acre lot was provided through a private well. While living there, the groundwater level was rapidly decreasing. We were faced with the potential of having to drill our well deeper or possibly having to drill a new well. We were fortunate that we were able to drop our pump instead. We were concerned that dropping the pump might not be enough. These conditions caused a great deal of anxiety that lack of access to a sustainable water supply could drastically disrupt our way of life, but could also devalue our home from over $5.5 million to zero. During this period, there was no agency to turn to for assistance in slowing this trend. I would gladly pay a small fee to have an agency watch over groundwater pumping activities in Merced. We need to start this process yesterday. Next comment from Tommy Victor. To whom it may concern, over the last decade there has continued to be a steady loss of underground water. In Merced County and surrounding areas, it continues to be an issue. 5 years ago, a regular family on a well that went dry had to wait sometimes on a year's waiting list just to get a drill rig out to drill a new residential well at above average costs just to have water for their family needs, while farmers drilled big, deep wells without little to any governance over them. I personally know of friends that had their wells run dry while orchards around them pumped water freely onto their trees. We can go on in discussion about the topic, but truth be told, I understand our area is rich with agriculture, and I totally support the farming community, and I believe it is important to all of us in the valley. But I also believe that agriculture has deeper pockets than your average homeowner. If farmers are unregulated in the amount of water they are allowed to pump out of our aquifers, then eventually they leave the residents around them dry. at a cost to us to have to replace while they just punch a deeper well and write it off to their farm expense. I don't really know what the best course of action is to be taken, but I do support monitoring the groundwater so that there's enough to go around. Once an aquifer is dried and collapsed, it can never be used again. Maybe farmers need to buy 50% surface water to the amount they pull from the ground. Maybe they should have to buy surface water to help replenish the aquifers. I don't really know. However, I'm in support of monitoring groundwater in hopes that it's not the beginning of a foot in the door to start charging residents high prices for using water. I would be interested in hearing more on this issue. Thank you, concerned resident. And I want to make a point too that if the board wants to address the comments, make any.
Yeah, so just for the board, if anyone wants to address any of the comments, please step in. So far, I'm not seeing a need to, I think, especially for the last comment, I mean, obviously, we would like the person who put this email together is to stay in touch and keep track of what we're doing and see how this agency is moving forward. The start of this process is very delicate because as this agency was ordained by the state of California, we still have to have a viable economy, and the question is of how we make sure that these resources are sustainable for all the users in this basin. And yes, that means some pumpers have to cut back, and these are some of the difficult facts that we have to face as we are applying the law.
Thank you, Sham. We've received, we have 3 comments left, and again, we're still watching the email and the different avenues, so if there are any public comments out there, feel free to send them in. This next one comes from Chad Englert. It says, to whom it may concern, while having to pay additional fees to contribute to another regulatory agency isn't preferable, I understand that having local control benefits the residents of McSwain. As a homeowner with a domestic well, I understand the importance of managing our groundwater. I hope the fees associated with the sustainability plan are kept to a minimum, and I would expect an agency at the local level to be able to manage those fees better than an apply-all approach from the state level. Chad Englert.
Maybe at some point we'll explain what is the other choice that the locals have. The SIGMA allows for locals to regulate themselves. Otherwise, the state would come in and regulate the area. And with that, you have the issue of dealing all the way into Sacramento, and also with higher fees, and also with the state coming in and deciding what's the projectile to reach sustainability and the amount of water that would be pumped, rather than having the locals who are more familiar of the aquifer and what's happening in their area. So you have this choice of be it public, be it local, or be it state controlled.
Next letter. To the Honorable Miyagusa Board of Directors, I'm writing to provide comment and express support for the proposed rate schedule to help fund an oversight body to aid in the monitoring of excessive groundwater pumping in areas that are especially sensitive to overdraft. Over the past several decades, and after the construction of Lake McClure Dam, I recall several community members talking about shallow water challenges for agricultural land in some residential areas, especially portions of the McSwain community. Over the years, we've become faced with the challenge of deeper and deeper groundwater levels. MID did not change, nor did its primary reservoir change. What did change was the endless conversion of flood-irrigated pasture on the valley floor and native grazing lands in the foothills into permanent tree crops, predominantly for almond production. These tree crop operations are heavily dependent on groundwater pumping. It is critically important that an independent body be established to monitor and set limits on groundwater pumping if we are going to protect our existing way of life, and I personally don't mind the proposed reasonable rates to help fund such body. Sincerely, Scott Cohen.
Thank you, Scott.
Moving on to the next letter. This one comes from Gene Akui of the Valley Land Alliance. This comment is regarding Miagusa fee to manage groundwater plan. Water is a finite resource, not a renewable one. Although surface water is plentiful some years, droughts are common to the San Joaquin Valley. There is not enough groundwater to go around, and some of the removed water is irreplaceable. To solve the problem in Merced, 3 groundwater sustainability agencies were formed: Merced Irrigation-Urban, Turner Island Water District, and Merced Subbasin. They must work together and with their neighboring agencies to balance groundwater removal with recharge. It's all about balance. In order to protect our water needs in the Merced Irrigation-Urban Agency, for that matter, any of the agencies, there will be expenses. Nothing comes without a price. Valley Land Alliance wishes to state their concern the agencies must solve the problem, not take water from Peter to pay Paul. That would be like rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. We understand the importance of having Miagusa Agency receive funding which is necessary to represent this agency. Valley Land Alliance.
Thanks. Thank you.
Checking to see if any more emails have come in. And we haven't received any at this time. So I'm going to move over and I'll play the recorded voice message.
My name is LaWanda Jones, and I live in the Merced County area, known as McSwain, and I object to the fee being imposed on residential customers in our area, as I do not see any direct services that I get from the commission that you are at all. And so I definitely object to the fee. You should not impose it. I can see some limited services that residents of the city get, businesses get, and overall, but we should not have to pay and fund that fee. The different agencies that make up the committee should directly fund a certain amount of their budget for it. Do not tax already overtaxed taxpayers for this additional fee on our tax bill during the year. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. So the response to this message is this agency does not provide water to any of the constituents within Miagusa. This agency is meeting a law that is set by the state of California in 2014 to regulate groundwater. So it's a regulatory agency. It's like a policing agency. It's like you're paying the sheriff. The sheriff is not watching my house all the time, but they are necessary for a certain function. So the Miagusa job is not to provide water, but to monitor, report, and enforce when needed. I just want to go over a couple of things. I was going to have Matt go through these, but maybe so you would understand how the state looks at, if the state is to manage the basin, there would be a $300 per well for all folks who has wells, and managed area rate is $10 per acre foot if metered, and 25 per acre foot if unmetered. If the basin goes into probation, it would be $40 per acre foot. And while the state is putting a plan, it would be $55 per acre foot, and that would be, and the de minimis fee, which is the houses that are we're calling private wells on domestic houses, it would be $100 per well, and there will be 25% for late fees of total fee amount per month late. So the state is serious about coming after basins if they are on probation, but also even if not per probation, the cost that state would apply is not little. and they would provide the same service. The service that, the benefit that I should say that the state would provide in comparison to the local is the same, which is basically monitoring after the state sets the new rules, that will be monitoring and enforcing. So I hope that answers your question. The agency is more a regulatory agency, not an operational agency. At the state level, there are two types of departments. One of them is called the Department of Water Resources, which is like they watch for the water resources in the state, be it surface water, groundwater, snow melt, snow accumulation, and they get into the weather and all of these engineering feats that requires a good management of the water supply. And these are operators. They also operate Orville Dam and the California Aqueduct and providing water to many places in the state. And then and these are operational, so those would be comparable on the local level to the city water department, to the community service districts in Plano del Grande, and to the Merced Irrigation District, which also runs a water source. On the other side, there's another department or faction of the state of California called the State Water Resources Control Board, and underneath it there are a number of regional water quality control boards. That is the policing and the monitoring and enforcing arm of the state. So until 2014, there was no regulations or laws imposed on groundwater extraction in the state of California. And the state gave the locals the choice of governing themselves and managing themselves, meeting certain criteria that the state would set, or the state would regulate it. And so we have this new type of agency that is local and it's more familiar with the groundwater and the users and the demand and the challenges. So I hope that helps you differentiate the difference between why the benefits that this agency provides to a house in a city, a factory, an ag area, or a house with a domestic well. It's the same sort of benefit, which is to watch for the aquifer. Any of the board members want to add anything to this? All right. Anything else, Matt?
We have not received any comments. Any additional comments at this time?
Well, I want to thank all those who provided comments today and appreciate you. And I would like you to keep an eye on us and also stay in touch and follow the development of this agency. Appreciate your communication. At this point, I am going to close the public hearing, and we go back to the agenda. Mr. Chavez, can you hear me? Can you? Yeah, we may have to receive a digital vote, but I would rather see if we could connect with Mr. Chavez. All right, well, at this point, I'm going to go to the action item, and the action item is to review and consider adoption of the Merced Irrigation-Urban Groundwater Sustainability Agency groundwater sustainability fee and authorizing its chair or her designees to take the necessary actions to collect, carry out, and implement said fee. And with that, we'll be, before we get to making the decisions, I'm going to pass it to Matt just to go through the process and the recommendations on this item.
Thank you, Asham, and good evening again, MIGUSA board and public. it's a one slider, so really it's a recommendation, but I'll give a little bit of background and some additional information on the process to date. So as the board knows, and hopefully the public, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act was signed into law in 2014. In 2017, MIGUSA was formed, and as described earlier in an earlier presentation, this GSA has certain legal regulatory requirements in accordance with the law. MIGUSA recognizes the complexity and significance of managing groundwater in this subbasin, and it's taken very seriously. SGMA provides GSAs with the legal authority to charge fees as soon as they are formed. To date, the member agencies have directly contributed to the funding of the agency. This has allowed the GSA to improve understanding of the budgetary needs moving forward on things like developing the GSP, the Groundwater Sustainability Plan, understanding the costs associated with the required annual reports, and getting an idea of what the 5-year updates will cost. These are all legal requirements. And this process has also allowed us to look at other things like installing monitoring wells, staffing needs, legal needs, things along those lines. Early on in the fee study process, there were some general goals that were established for the fee structure, and these 3 goals were to one, establish a fair fee structure that the GSA governing board could adopt. So meaning that there's that the law supports and gives the authority to the GSA to adopt these fees. To secure a fee structure adopted with maximum buy-in from interested parties and community at large, and establish a fee structure that will allow the GSA to effectively manage the Merced groundwater basin in accordance with the law. In this fee study process, as Catherine mentioned, there was extensive stakeholder outreach. There was significant analysis on water usage, and what that might look like, how it would impact budgets and groundwater planning moving forward. With these goals in mind and the substantial preparation, staff is recommending a fee and fee structure that it believes is adequate to fund the GSA and its regulatory activities. It's also a defendable fee structure. The recommendation being to adopt Resolution 2020-02, which approves the Merced Irrigation-Urban Groundwater Sustainability Agency groundwater sustainability fee under the Option 2B fee methodology and fee structure, including an automatic annual adjustment according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics West Region Consumer Price Index, and authorize the chair or her designees to take the necessary actions to collect, carry out, and implement said fee.
All right. So at this point, I would like to entertain a motion and a second, and then after that, we could have a discussion if there's a discussion as we are looking at Resolution 2020-02. So do I have a motion for the recommendation presented by staff?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion made by Cynthia of the Grand CSD. I would like to have a second from a city.
The City of Merced seconds the motion, Hisham.
Okay, so I have a motion and a second. So now it's time for discussion. Any questions about the motion? All right, so if there's no questions or comments regarding the motion, I would like to have a vote roll vote. So roll call for the vote. So Jennifer, could you go please with that?
Yes. Thank you. City of Merced, that was the second.
Yes.
Thank you. City of Atwater? How do you
Yes.
vote? Okay. City of Livingston?
Yes.
Merced Irrigation District?
Yes?
And I'm sorry, if you could do, just state your name for the record. So that's City of Livingston, Jose Ramirez, correct? And City of Atwater, Justin Benson.
Correct.
Yeah.
Merced Irrigation District, Hisham
So,
Patel.
yeah.
And Winton Water and Sanitary District.
Yes, that's Carlos Valencia.
Thank you. And Planada Community Services District.
Daniel?
Have we gotten anything from Daniel?
Yeah.
I know he's on.
We know he's on, but he's not. So I think we have to go with this. So
Okay.
So motion carries. Thank you, Jennifer. I think that.
Lee Grant.
Oh, the
still have
grant.
the
Excuse
grant.
me. Cynthia.
And that she made the
City
motion.
of
Oh, she made the
City of
motion.
Benavides.
Yeah.
I made the motion.
Thank you.
All right. So with this, we adopt Resolution 2020-02 with the recommendations, and that would end the action item. Is there any business from the board? I think, from my perspective, I think this is a big landmark for us. The hard work will just begins. So we are going to be looking at maybe an interim budget sometime this winter, and start putting some rules, and hopefully we would have enough engagement with the other GSAs to start formulate how we are going to manage the basin into the future. And then we would have our first full budget would be for the July 2021. So thank you very much for bearing with us, and thank you, Hansford and team. This has been quite a ride. Appreciate it. Like I said, the hard work just begins. Any comments from the board?
Hisham, this is Stephanie. I just want to thank all of our staffs and staff that are involved and consultants who've put this plan together, and we appreciate your hard work.
All right.
I'd like to agree and thank everybody for their help in this long process as well.
Yeah, we have really been asking for a lot from you, also the board, and keeping up with all the movements that we have to go through per the law, and the things that we also have to make sure that we're all on the same page. So I really, truly appreciate all of that, and appreciate Mr. Elwin, who has been also sharing a lot of burdens for the city of Merced. Appreciate that. So at this point, if there's no other business from the board, I would like to entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I move to adjourn. This is Stephanie from Merced.
Okay. I have a motion from Stephanie, seconded by Jose from City of Livingston. Could you please take a roll call for adjourning the meeting?
City of Merced made the motion.
Aye. Yes.
Thank you. City of Atwater.
Aye.
City of Livingston. Jose seconded. Merced Irrigation District.
Hisham, aye.
Winton Water and Sanitary District.
Aye.
We'll try Planada Community Services District. Okay. LeGrand Community Services District.
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it staying this late, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.